Should we run away from our honeymoon? My husband and I are on our honeymoon. His parents gifted us a week in an all-inclusive hotel at no cost to us as a wedding gift, and we were really grateful. On arriving, we found out that they also booked a room at this hotel for themselves for the whole week and want to do group things. Outside of this, we see them maybe 2 or 3 times a year for a couple of days at a time, as he finds them a bit overbearing at times and they don't really like me. It's not like they are in the room next door or anything, and we can still do stuff in our room alone, but they knock on our door regularly, waking us up at 6 a.m., making us get all 3 meals a day with them. We've tried telling them we wanted alone time for our honeymoon, and they shrugged us off as saying that's what our room is for. We also tried faking illness to get out of eating with them, and they just got room service to our room and sat with us while we faked stomach aches. My husband snapped earlier and said this whole thing was way over the line and they had no right intruding on our honeymoon of all things. And they told us that they paid for this whole thing and that as adults we're allowed to take holidays at the same time to the same place. We've been talking and we saved up to pay for our own honeymoon before they surprised us. We still have the money we would have spent in our joint wedding honeymoon account. There's another town we wanted to go to on our honeymoon and we looked it up, and we could get tickets from here to there and then back home for less than $60 total. We could also book a few days in a nice hotel for about half of what's left in our wedding honeymoon fund and use the remainder of the week we've booked off in another town without his parents knowing we would left until we had. It's 9 p.m. now, there's train from here to the other town every hour, plus more half-hourly trains tomorrow. Would we be arseholes if we run away from his parents without telling them? Let's have a look at the comments. They deliberately withheld the knowledge that they would also be there from you and your husband until you were committed to the trip and had arrived. That is a seriously sketchy move, and you're under no obligation to make your honeymoon about them. They told us that they paid for this whole thing and that as adults we're allowed to take holidays at the same time to the same place. Well, according to that logic, you can pack up and leave in my opinion and take your honeymoon in another place with your own money. Not the asshole. This is ridiculous on their part and even really creepy. I can't imagine what shit they are going to pull when you guys would decide to have kids. Now seems a perfect time to make your boundaries clear. You try talking to them. If they don't listen, you would need to take drastic measures. Pack up and get on that train. When I had my first baby, my mom brought one of her friends to the hospital. Someone I barely knew came into my room after my husband told her I was asleep and not to wake me, and woke my sleeping baby for a picture. When my husband caught her, he was, as you put it, so unbelievably unpleasant to her that she was afraid to even talk to me for 2 weeks. She sent my grandmother to find out if it was okay to visit after we got home. He's a good husband, and mom stopped doing that shit. Can I kick out the girl from my daughter's sleepover birthday party? My daughter, 14 years old, had a sleepover birthday party last Saturday and she invited 5 girls from her school. There was this one girl that she invited who I could tell from her attitude was a spoiled brat. When she rang the doorbell, she walked in looking down at her phone, didn't greet me or my wife, and handed me her jacket without even looking up. The whole night she was on her phone doing whatever the heck 14-year-olds do on phones. I thought she was just embarrassed or shy because she didn't know anyone, but according to my daughter, she is a super duper cool girl. Anyway, towards the end of the night, my daughter was opening her gifts. Spoiled brat made a comment about every single gift. Not exactly snarky, but more like she was just unimpressed. The final gift was from me and my wife. We bought her an iPhone 7 by pooling all of our remaining extra money to buy her it. The spoiled brat scoffed because she had the newest generation iPhone. I helped my daughter set up the phone with a SIM card, and the rest of the night they just hung out in her room. My daughter came down a bit later and she was just sitting on the couch. I asked her what was wrong and she just went back up while saying, "Why couldn't you just bought me the newest iPhone?" That was really out of the character for her, as she is always grateful for receiving anything. My daughter left the phone on the table. I grabbed my daughter's phone to see a bunch of texts going back and forth between spoiled brat and my daughter. They exchanged numbers and the conversation went something like this. Hey, it's me. Well, thanks for inviting me to your lamest slumber party, lol. And congrats on the iPhone 7, haha. What? Aren't you mad that your parents and your friends got you such lame gifts? Slumber parties are for little girls, lol. But whatever, it's cool. You don't like the party? I just wish I could go home, lol. End. It was around 1 a.m. and the girls were still up talking. I knocked and asked if I could speak with spoiled brat. She looked confused. I told her she needs to grab her things, something came up. I did this as to not embarrass my daughter in front of her friends. I took her downstairs and asked her to call her mom. She asked why and I said, because that's what you said, right? That you wish you could go home? So go. She was tearing up a bit and made the call. I talked with her mom for a bit when she came. I showed her the text and she apologized profusely and said, it's just a teenager phase, I guess. I'm so sorry, but don't you think she could stay? If not, I understand. I thought about it for a bit, but her staying would probably have made it awkward for everyone, so I told her it was best if they just left. My wife said that I overreacted and I should have just talked with spoiled brat rather than immediately kick her out. I firmly believe I taught her a good lesson that she needed to learn. It was my daughter's birthday, and I didn't want the rest of her night ruined because of some spoiled brat who was making it all about her. I guess she didn't exactly do anything wrong, but at the same time her attitude was unbelievable. Am I the asshole here? If your daughter's attitude and behavior improved that much that fast, then you definitely did the right thing. I think you should talk to your daughter about the situation just in case she is a bit embarrassed about how you reacted. Because if she has a problem with it, she isn't going to directly tell you. Just go through the situation with her and explain why you reacted the way you did and ask what she would have wanted you to do better. Not the asshole, an actual hero. That self-entitled brat needed someone to hold her accountable for being a bully. In time, your daughter will understand this. Can I tell my sister that I don't trust her to watch my son? I'm a 19-year-old man with a 3-month-old son. His mother surrendered her rights and is no longer in the picture. I work 4 a.m. until 12 p.m. at a gas station and I raise my son. That's what I do these days. Only one of my friends still speaks to me and hangs out with me. I live at home with my parents and sister, 21, and pay a small rent each month. I can't afford to move out with the baby. My parents help me when they can. My sister doesn't like my son. She once told me she thinks he's an annoyance and hindrance. If he cries, she complains. If there's baby clothes in the laundry, she complains. Basically, the baby exists and that pisses her off. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best to be a good dad. My sister has never offered to help with the baby beyond holding him briefly, and she hasn't done more than about 4 or 5 times since he was born. The other day, my friend called and offered me a really great opportunity for some side work. He works construction and they needed an extra guy for some installation work. 4 hours and I would get $400. I jumped at it. Any extra money can only help. I started trying to find a babysitter. My sister was hanging out in the living room while I walked around the house on the phone. I managed to find a sitter who said she didn't want to be paid and went to get the baby ready. My sister asked me why I didn't ask her when she was sitting right there. I told her I didn't think she wanted to since she never offered to help before. She told me it was different, this was for work and not just me wanting to sleep or whatever. And he was about to go down for his nap and he's pretty easy when he first wakes up. She told me it wouldn't be a problem. I asked her why she didn't say something between phone calls and she said she didn't think she needed to because we're family and family ask each other for help. I reminded her of all the times she complained about the baby and me and called him names and told me she wished he'd never been born and asked her why she thought I would ever trust her with my son. She started crying and told me that it wasn't fair and I needed to remember that the whole house was dealing with the baby and she was just having a hard time adjusting but she'd never do anything to hurt him. I told her she would have spoken to me about her feelings instead of acting like a child. Took my son and left. When I got home, both my parents sat in on me because my sister told them I accused her of bad intentions to the baby. Am I the asshole here for being honest when my sister offered to babysit? In the end, apparently God is on my side now. The lady I mentioned in the post who babysat my son for me, she goes to church with my mom, and when I dropped my son off, I explained that I was having trouble finding a sitter or paying for daycare. She called the pastor and explained the situation, and 2 days a week, my son can attend the church nursery school from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. for free. And the lady offered to take my son 1 day a week during the same time frame, and has also found another lady who will take him for 1 day a week, same time frame. The ladies both requested $50, which I'm happy to pay. That means there's only 1 day a week and 3 hours in the morning that I need childcare, and my mom has agreed to watch him for the 3 hours and drop him off. I still have to figure out Fridays, but Monday to Thursdays are covered. I can breathe again. So those were the stories for today's video. If you enjoyed this and want to watch more videos, then click here for more stories, or go check out the info card in the right corner for more videos.